it's Pastor Dan from Dexter Gospel Church with another Proverbs Practical. Thanks for watching. This proverb urges parents to work hard at raising their children well. From Proverbs 29, verse 15, it says, "The rod and reproof give wisdom, but a child left to himself brings his mother to shame." Now, we've been told over and over again in Proverbs that wise children make for glad parents. Foolish children bring shame to their parents. Well, what can a parent do about that? Well, I'm afraid the process of raising a child to be proud of is not easy for parent or child, though it's probably easier in some ways for the child than failing to do it. It takes a lot of effort, and there are two key components to that in this verse. The first is the rod. That speaks of physical discipline. This isn't really popular today, but it's definitely recommended by the Bible. Physical discipline, especially for children, is basically a necessity for imparting real wisdom. Now, because of abuses, I have to clarify pretty much every time I talk about this. I am not talking about rage or anger-driven, out-of-control abuse. I'm talking about something that is deliberate and clearly thought out. I'm talking about something that is appropriate to the transgression and is consistent, not something that's arbitrary and based on the mood of the person doing the disciplining. Physical discipline done wrong, based on our mood or emotions as parents, does not teach right and wrong. It teaches manipulation and avoidance. The discipline also must be severe enough to warrant a change of behavior. If it doesn't make an impression or is easily forgettable, that discipline is not doing its job. All a minor inconvenience does is breed resentment and stubbornness and teach children that if they do wrong, they can handle the consequences. But good discipline cannot do lasting physical damage. If it's breaking bones, giving concussions, leaving scars, then it's not discipline, it's assault and it's abuse. The whole point of discipline is to help a child, not harm them. Painful consequences are a necessary teaching tool sometimes, but long-term injury is a betrayal of what discipline is intended to accomplish in the Bible. Not only that, but to be really effective in imparting wisdom, physical discipline needs the second component that's named in this verse. And that second component is reproof. That speaks of verbal discipline. Punishment without understanding is pointless. If something bad happens to a person and they don't know why, then they can't fix it. If they don't know how they messed up, they can't avoid it in the future. If they don't know what they did wrong, they'll keep making the same mistake or a different mistake, but they won't get it right. This doesn't mean that every transgression requires a long lecture. Quite the contrary. Often a simple rebuke is just a few words is enough to make clear what's right and what's wrong. And many times that reproof is sufficient, all by itself, when dealing with someone who is already learning wisdom. But in reality, at some point in their lives, children need both. They need real consequences for doing wrong, and they need insight into what is right. And when you put those together, it gives wisdom. And then eventually the parents are proud. But those things take a lot of effort. It's exhausting. Few people who haven't been parents can understand the degree of exhaustion that consistent, thoughtful parenting requires and produces. A lot of the time, it's honestly easier to just let the child have their own way and figure they're going to learn on their own. And there are places where children do learn on their own, things that people learn best from trying and failing or trying and succeeding. But when it comes to morality especially, we cannot afford to leave children to themselves. The child who devises their own system of right and wrong based on unattended decisions and consequences will inevitably come through with serious problems. And that will eventually bring disaster to the child, and it'll be apparent that at least some of that could have been avoided if the parents had done differently. Now, this verse mentions the mother specifically. Why mention mom specifically? While both mother and father are responsible for a child's upbringing throughout the scriptures, the mother, especially in their culture and time, generally was the most directly involved in the upbringing of the children, especially at a very young age when small changes make big differences before they begin to harden into patterns that are much harder to adjust. The father had to provide for the family. It was literally life and death for all of them, the children included, that he go and make that provision. And he often simply couldn't take little children with him without risking their lives, even if he could do his job. So the mom did a lot of the early upbringing. And if she did it well, honor would accrue to her. If she showed diligence and wisdom in this, Shame would fall upon her if she didn't. While every human has a free will, we can have a tremendous influence on our children for good. If we don't exercise that influence, it's not good for them or for us. I hope this video is a blessing to you. If so, give it a like. If you haven't already, subscribe to our channel for more insights from the Scripture. Until next time, I hope you stay well and understand wise parenting.